Hello and welcome to another episode of the TFTuesday Podcast. My name is Zil, and we are coming at you. What time is it? 12:15 in the morning. It's been a fucking shit and a half week, but you know what? We just watched a fucking amazing movie, and it's the rain that's been happening all week can't get me down. I'm joined by my illustrious burping co-host K-Libra. How you doing, K-Libra?
Some people won't even know that I did that, but you'll probably hear it next time anyway.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good after we just finished watching that really good movie. I'll tell you right now, spoilers, because there's no reason I feel to... How are we supposed to talk about the movie in a spoiler-free way? We're not a review channel, so we're just going to talk about the shit that we want to see.
That's true.
Yeah, so that is your choice. You can listen to us, but we do strongly recommend that you watch the movie first. That way, I don't know, you can fight about it with us or some shit. I don't know.
I also feel like it's important to also caveat the fact that, like, obviously we're talking about this movie because it has some, certain things in it, but, like, it's also just a really good fucking movie, and, like, frankly, there were things that happened in it that I wasn't necessarily expecting because I just went into it not really thinking about shit. And it's a really good fucking movie outside of the obvious things that we'll be talking about in a bit. So, like, I know lots of people are like, oh my god, it's a movie with the cool TF, and, like, yes, but, like, it's also really just a fucking good movie, and I just feel like it is underselling it to focus just on that one potential aspect.
Yeah, so. Very quickly, it's a huge problem I have with people in this fucking fandom where they'll try to sell something to me because it has TF in it, and if it's not, like, directly in front of it as the thing, then, you know, okay, fine, I get it. And this was at the front of the movie.
It was at the front of the
movie. But it also has been used to spoil shit that learning about the fact that it's there in the first place was incredibly fucking important. So I will always resent the fact that people just do that freely.
Shout out to a certain episode of a certain popular TV show that was spoiled for a lot of people when that was literally the whole point of the episode, was having it be a twist.
Yep. That pissed me right the fuck off.
Yeah.
So you can make us feel a little better if you'd like to consider being a patron. And that way, next time something like that happens, I can think, yeah, some people are willing to spoil my fucking movies because it had TF in it. But also our server has TF in it, so you can find some more there. People share art, post some of their art. We have a few artists there that sometimes they just want to share some of their stuff. Maybe it'll show up before it does on their Twitter accounts. Stuff like that.
Yeah, who knows?
Yep. So you can also, again, you can complain about me, you can talk to Zil, you can go to the Raisin Room, you can see how this show is growing because, I mean, we did go into making this show with the prospect of talking about, like, specific, like, movies and TV shows and stuff like that. But I think this is the first time we ever went into it just to be like, oh, this is a movie people are talking about. Let's give our thoughts and essentially, like, a rough review. Yeah,
I mean, we did Spring, but, like, that was more because we were like, yo, Spring is amazing, let's talk about Spring, not because everyone was around us was talking about Spring.
Yeah, because people weren't.
Yeah.
Even though, like, I saw the fucking clips and shit like that well before the movie, and I had no idea what it was about.
Yeah.
It was a fucking great movie. But, you know, again, because I don't want anybody being like, oh, I wasn't paying attention. Spoilers. Now, Zil, for your entertainment, I'd like you to read out loud the list of things, the notes that I took. I think you may be.
You want me to read the whole thing?
Yeah, go ahead. Just do it real quick. Like rapid fire.
Rapid fire. Okay, so the main character's name is Emile. The father's name is Francois. Mother is Lena. Dog's name is Albert. Police officer interested in dad is Julia. School friend's name is Nina. Birdman's name is Fix. Dad is a hypocrite. Tells him not to eat chips, then smokes. Animal people shown very early. People turning into animals is a new and known phenomenon. They know very little about it. Main character's mother is afflicted. Mother was forced into medical care. Mother seems to not be able to understand words when seen in hospital. Changes are partial. Claw marks in different rooms. They are moving to the south of France so the mother can be kept somewhere. Dad is Jacques Frenchman. Emile is new kid in school. Is treated poorly by students. ADHD represent. Emile has a scar on his face from lightning, ? Upon introducing himself to the class, Emile says that his mother is dead. Emile smiles at the thunderstorm that comes their way. Horse person shows up in a flash of lightning and disappears in the night. Anonymous call is received in the morning after the storm. Lots of damage from the storm, fallen trees, injured people along the road. People lead search. More than 40 missing people in the disaster. Medical transport bus crashed through the barrier and into the river. Possible reason for the horse person sighting. They refer to the animal peoples as creeps. Emile survives winning a tug of war against a team of his on his own. First signs of change. change. Do I have to keep doing this?
Yeah, go.
Oh, fuck. No, I can't do the rest. Listen. That's not the kind of review we're doing, but that was funny. I can read very quickly.
I just wanted to make sure that you knew I took note that the movie is French, that it is very French.
Okay. I do actually need to start off with this. So this is, and I want to be very clear, this is not actually a negative comment. I know this is going to sound like it is. I swear to Christ it's not. This is the most French film I have ever seen in my entire fucking goddamn life. And as someone who lives in Canada, this is not the first time I'm watching a French language movie, okay? The dad is literally named Francois. He is a chain-smoking motherfucker who frequently talks about being against the system and wanting to violently resist it, and also will randomly quote French philosophers to make points.
Yeah. And
he's just Francois Frenchman, chain-smoking motherfucker.
Yeah, so apparently I didn't get to really hang around that kind of French guy, even though I've had my interactions with a fair share of them. But just that.
Well, as someone who has spent a significant amount of time in Europe, the entire movie was just European to its core, but it was also specifically French for some of the reasons I have outlined. Also, the level of emotions that the male characters were allowed to show in the movie was, again, I was immediately I'm not watching a North American film. This would not fly. They would not allow the dad to be crying while clinging to the son in his arms as they both weep into the ground as they have both, as it has been revealed that the son is changing. This is not shit that would happen in a North American film. It would not.
Yeah, it wouldn't. But yeah, so as you mentioned, it just opens. They're stuck in traffic, French. And they're gonna go see his mom, and they're complaining at each other for these petty little things. And then our first glimpse into the kind of world that they live in is that the son decides he's gonna fuck off from the car because he's a very special kind of guy.
He's very French.
He just fucks off and starts walking through traffic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all stop cars.
It's all stop, but he's just walking through traffic, and his dad is like, "Get the fuck back here!" And then
I just told you to stop eating potato chips while chain smoking. How did this go badly for me? I don't understand. Do as I say, not as I do. I will now quote Descartes at you.
It's Descartes, isn't it?
Yeah, whatever.
Descartes.
Listen.
Discarded.
What did I started off this thing by saying it's 12:20 in the morning, okay?
At night. There's no such thing as 12 in the morning.
Shut the fuck up.
No. Anyway, I have to keep talking to tell you that there's an ambulance that's just fucking rocking and everything, and nobody's getting fucked. They're just getting fucked up, and this fucking bird guy bursts out the back of it with one mostly transformed arm, and the other one is half formed.
Yeah.
And his feet are almost like talons.
I cannot get over the level of detail with some of the practical effects in this movie, because in the scene you're talking about, we get this really close-up shot of the talon feet, and you can so clearly see that there are merged fingers that are making the talons, or toes. It's so clear. You can even see the two separate knuckles at the first joint. They're both visible and kind of smushed together, but you can see they're supposed to be two separate ones. That level of detail in a fucking movie, I am not fucking used to. I'm just not. This is not. There's stuff that is alluded to off screen with effects or whatever. There's actually a really clever one early on where there's clearly an anteater person, but they just show them out of focus because they're not the focus of the story. But you just see the tongue going in and out. It's really good.
And the really distorted head.
Yeah.
But it makes you want to look at it harder. But
and then they move on.
Yeah.
But the thing is what I appreciate is that's those things are there, but they don't shy away from putting this extremely partial animal, partial human shit on full display in 4K for the viewer to see. They do not shy away from it, and I'm surprised because I feel like a lot of movies these days don't do that shit.
Well, actually, the thing. Okay, so it's funny because we're talking about the fact that they put some really incredible detail on it, but at the same time they decide what they don't want to show, and I think if it was an American film, it would have just hard cut to the next scene of the anteater kid's face, like right dead on, with like the little tongue like flicking around in bad CG. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
That's what it would have been. I guess what I'm trying to say is that they know when to show the really good stuff, which is a lot more in the movie than I expected. No fucking shit. I really thought that we were going to only get to see like a few really special bits, but they had so much to offer.
It was so embedded and permeated throughout the entire fucking film.
Yeah.
And I personally, when I went into the film, I didn't think the son was actually going to TF at all. I didn't like. I had like particularly stayed away from some of the trailers. I just like kind of knew like the ambiance of the movie, and I was genuinely surprised that it ended up being a very long form. Oh, the kid is TFing, and that's going to be part of the focus of the movie.
Yeah.
And in particular, I know this is like partially because of budget. The changes that you get to see for him visually are not quite as pronounced as for a lot of the other characters, but also like I'm kind of glad that they did, because they mined a whole different subsection of like transformation themes that I feel like don't get a lot of play in like quote unquote TF movies. And the one thing that really stood out was the dog brain element, because to be clear, they never tell you exactly what he's turning into. They make like guesses around it. It's probably something canine or vulpine, we don't really know, but the thing that they really emphasize is how like his emotions get super heightened. He gets super impulsive. He does not think things through. He's very distractible. They make a direct analog to ADHD at one point throughout the movie, and it actually becomes like a prominent subplot with another character, which delighted me to no end. I was like, okay, so you're just telling me I am clinically diagnosed with dog brain. Okay, I'll take it. But like, it's so interesting that they focus so much more on the mental aspects for him in contrast to like the physical aspects you see for a lot of other characters. And I feel like that's not something that you usually see. And they even say early on, they're like, the changes that affect people are random. You never know where it's going to start or how it's going to progress or anything. So it made entire sense that just for him, sure, he started off with a few physical changes, but a lot of the progression actually happened mentally. And I thought that was really fucking interesting.
Yes, and then like any of the physical things that were going on with him were subtle. Like he could run pretty fucking fast, and he was extra strong. He wasn't going to be like lifting cars or anything, but he could overpower pretty much anybody he wants to. And then, of course, like the things that he tried to hide, like the hair, which we were both laughing at because both of us had more body hair.
The body hair, yeah. So he had all this, like, quote-unquote fur on his back, and he's like, oh, it stands out. And I'm looking at this kind of like, we both have more body hair on our backs than this fucker. What is this?
Yeah, you could have just written it off as like, whoops, puberty. I didn't know it was going to get hairy.
But he did have a sick-ass spine.
Okay, but let's yeah, he did. But let's wind it back a little bit. They really do a great job in setting in the setting, because we remember, like, you know, the bird guy bursting out of the fucking ambulance, big hook. Then we have the follow up with the anteater kid.
Yeah, and then they explain what's going on.
Yeah, so like the kid is just sitting there at a clinic. I'd like to stress that the kid isn't like strapped to a bed or a chair, or like they pass by the kid in quarantine. It's not like desperately trying to avoid doctors. Just sitting in a chair, and it's like, huh. So this isn't like some little thing that people are like trying to keep under wraps. This is the state of the world, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then of course there's the chat with the doctor, which gives us more insight, and we learn like, you know, a bit of like, no, we don't fucking get it. We only know generally what happens. And
it's a new phenomenon. It's only been going on for like 2 years, and they're like trying to catch up with it because they don't know what's causing it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and then like, you know, the question, the plot starts really because of the father and son's, well, the wife and mom.
Yeah.
For both of them.
So the mom is like pretty far along in terms of transforming. Into what exactly we don't quite know.
Not that far along, because from behind she looks normal. And
yeah, but she's like lost most of her mind at that point.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing that they have to tell you to understand, which is what her son ends up kind of going through as well.
Yeah, that's true.
And then it's kind of like, oh, you know, we're gonna have to take your wife and like put her in a facility or some shit like that. And the dad is like, man, I'm fucking gonna move to where I can see her, you know. Now, the dad is kind of like the dad is a big fucking hypocrite like off the bat, where it's just like, this is how you got to be, and this is how you should be, and blah blah blah, and don't listen to the system, but you got to listen to me, and all this other shit, right? So, but
Very
he cares.
French.
But he cares. He actually cares about his son. Actually cares about his wife. This isn't just
Very French.
thankfully not the whole machismo thing.
Oh yeah, no, he's not like some like whatever the fuck, like, oh, I'm gonna like show off my bravado. Like, this is a guy who cares about his family so much that he will literally assault police officers to save them.
Oh
So,
yeah, his whole like buck the system thing comes to
it's real. It's very real.
he does, and there isn't like and you know the funny thing is, like, again, if this was an American movie, there would be like these really obvious ham-fisted arcs of like, I'm finally going to do the thing I said that I would be doing, that I don't normally do, and that I tell people that I think they should do, but I never did it, but now I'm going to do it. He just went and fucking is like, oh wait, you really mean all that shit you say. You fuck with, you lie to the cops. You don't want them involved. You want to hide your son from the fucking system. You don't trust them to find your wife, so you're gonna do it yourself. You know, all this shit. It's funny because like, he does make friends with a cop who seems to mean well, because after she starts to notice that some shit is really fucking weird and off base, instead of investigating him, she starts helping him.
Yeah. Well, that again, this is another thing that you would not see in like a North American film. Like the like quote unquote like normal police officers are people who are like at least somewhat integrated into the community, and like she cares more about helping him than she does about whatever the fuck power system she's supposed to be a part of, especially after they bring in like a bunch of military fucks. When a bunch of the animal people go missing, and that's just not a plot you would see in a North American film. It's just not, because they're like, yeah, this military system sucks. The police, are getting, like, the local police at least are being run roughshod because of like the stupid power dynamics, and there may be some people who actually just care about the community. Again, none of this would ever be in a North American film. It was just so funny to me. I don't know. Yeah,
and it was even fun. It's funnier because since we've been watching a few more like European films and stuff like that, like even Viking Wolf and and I think and this is not any kind of like, it's a show called Lilyhammer. Has nothing to do with all the stuff that you're interested in, which is transformation. It's just it's about a mob boss that goes there for witness protection to Norway. But yeah, all those things show that police are very much like a part of the community. They're meant to be integrated, more level playing field. You know? Instead of like the whole like, police are in charge sort of thing.
Yeah.
But aside from that, so we have the father and son. They move to like southern France, right? Am I getting this right?
Yeah, southern France.
Yeah, they move to southern France, and the dad's like, "Hey, this won't be so bad, right? Come on, man." He's trying to like make things feel better. The kid seems to be like, "Man, Dad, you're kind of a pain in the ass. I don't really like you." He doesn't really like anybody. He's miserable about his mom.
He's a teenager.
Yeah, he was miserable about his mom, like losing his mom and shit like that. And they show up in this like kind of shitty little cottage. I thought it was pretty nice.
I thought it was pretty cute.
When he was complaining in the thunderstorm, I'm like, oh no, a leak. But no, the power just went out, and I'm like, oh, I can deal with the power going out of it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anyway, but like,
the power of the there's a storm that happens shortly after they get there, and the I guess medical transport vehicle that was carrying the mother and a bunch of other animal people goes into river, and some of them die, and a lot of others are just unaccounted for, and that kind of sets up the thrust of the plot for the rest of the movie, in that they're trying to find the mom. And things occur along the way in their quest to find the mom. Yeah,
things, of course, everything escalates. The son starts to find out that he's starting to feel weird and noticing weird things about himself. The big, I wasn't like the big moment was the tug of war for him, right?
Well, the tug of war, I think it was like a moment in that we, as the audience, started realizing, oh, maybe something weird's happening to him. But he actually like returns, I think, to the bathroom afterwards.
Yeah, he walked out of school.
Yeah, he just fucking left. They're like, whatever, walkable cities, Lamau. And he went home, and he fucking goes to the bathroom, and he finds out, oh no, there is a nail that has, or a claw, actually, that has burst through his nail bed. and he had kind of noticed that when he fell to the ground after the tug of war.
Yeah.
And he fucking takes a pair of tweezers and pulls it out.
Oh,
which
the spray
fucking,
of blood.
oh my god. I was
the mirror,
like,
on his face.
visibly wincing. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ.
That shit was brutal, and it's like, oh man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, with all that being said, so the dad wants to look for his wife, but now the son's starting to hide whatever changes he's noticing.
Yeah.
He's like, oh shit, I'm like mom.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, like, we still wonder, like, how the dad is really feeling about things, and he just seems intent on finding his wife.
Yeah.
And now skirting the cops.
Yeah, pretty much. I think one of the interesting parts about, like, kind of the middle part of the film is just the fact that, you know, the son is clearly undergoing some weird shit that he's hiding from his dad, and later on the dad does put the pieces together in an interesting way. But one of the funny things is, like, the kid is, like, going around, Emil, he's going around still at, like, school and stuff, and, like, going to friends' parties or whatever, and he is, like, so clearly out of it, and he's, like, trying to do the thing where you're like, oh, yeah, like, I'm totally normal, even though clearly I'm, like, acting way too shifty and paranoid to be considered normal. And there's one point earlier on in this sequence where he's at a party and, like, someone offers something to him and he just licks their arm.
Oh, yeah.
And that was so fucking funny to me because everyone was like, whoa, what the fuck was that? Like, why are you doing some weird kinky shit at the table?
Yeah.
And then it gets, like, distracted because they hear some sound. Actually, it's a moo from the forest.
Yeah,
and he just fucking, like, runs off because he's like, oh god, that was embarrassing.
Yeah.
But, like, there's so many little things that start happening in these, like, social situations with these other teenagers that are just so absolutely hilarious and clearly, like, fucked up, but also everyone's kind of like, well, he might just be a weird kid.
Okay.
Like, we can't actually say there's anything wrong going on. It's just, maybe he's weird. I don't know. There's a character that befriends him who, this is going back to the ADHD thing. Her name is Nina, and she just starts, like, befriending him, and she's like, yeah, you know, I was a little weird when I started realizing I had ADHD. Yeah, when I was diagnosed, I was starting to act out and do, like, weird shit. And she's, like, trying to, like, befriend him because she's, like, suggesting maybe he has it too. And she's like, you know, you want to, like, come back to my place? And he's like, yeah, dog brain, sure, yeah. And it just cuts, it's smash cuts to her sitting in her room with him, badly playing the French horn. And I've never felt so seen in a movie in my fucking life. He was like, wait, what the fuck is going on? She's like, yeah, I'm just really good at playing the French horn.
And she wasn't.
She wasn't.
Now let's to not forget other things, because the son's interaction with other characters isn't the only thing. The dad talks about how he's gonna have to have, like, a bunch of jobs. It's normal, right?
Yeah.
So he starts working with this couple that runs, like, some restaurants in this, like, fucking rural part of France, and they seem nice enough or whatever. Except it's like a mom and pop sort of thing, and
Except the pop is racist.
yeah, the pop is racist, and you think it's just about animal people, but he makes, like, a
he makes shitty comments about Romani people. So
he does all
very European movie.
yeah, very so, and he even, like, prints out this shirt with, like, it was like the paw with, like, the fucking circle.
Oh yeah, with, like, an
slash
X
through.
over it. Like, yeah, like, animal people aren't welcome here. We're fine with animals, but from a distance.
Yeah,
I think was the slogan or something.
Printed on the back of the shirt.
Yeah, very, very heavy-handed.
And and then he like he shows it in the first scene, but then, like, in the next scene he's actually wearing it. And,
Yeah.
Well, no, it's that kind of character, and then you start to, like, oh man, so, like, you know, the dad is dealing with people who are not compassionate to his situation at all, and also they have a slur for the people who are changing. They call them creeps.
Yeah, he called them creeps.
Yeah, and the dad's chops for compassion and actual bravery start to show with this scene in a big market,
a supermarket.
Yeah, because he's busy shopping for his excursion, to search for
to go find his wife. Yeah,
and he meets one of the fucking cops there, the lady Julia, and she's just there, and he's got a fucking like a combat knife, and he gets asked if he's going to war.
and he's like, no, I'm just camping.
Yeah, and I'm just like, the knife is a good idea though.
Yeah.
So yeah,
but there's a disturbance at the supermarket where we find not one but two animal people.
Yeah.
One of which is an octopus that's really interestingly designed, who like uses the multiple tentacles to fucking fling shit at the cop as they're running away, which was hilarious.
Yeah, like they freak people out at the store, but the octopus didn't do anything to anyone.
Yeah, it was just terrified of like all the fucking noise and all this shit.
Yeah. And then as the whole thing is going out of control and shit, the dad ends up noticing something and goes underneath like one of the freezers or something, and you can see like all these scales, and they slowly part, and there's like a pangolin person underneath.
Yeah. And
it's so fucking cool. And instead of ratting them out, he's just like there quietly looking at them, kind of like, like it's okay. And then like when the cop like starts to walk by, you just see the feet, but the pangolin like just fucking hides again, but the dad stays quiet. And I'm just like, oh man, he actually cares about them.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty clearly established with like how he treats the mom initially, and also like how he treats the son later when he finds out, is like he's very compassionate, and also is like, I don't fucking trust these cops or even the medical institution to some degree.
He doesn't trust the system.
All that shit. Very French.
Yeah, and I guess even though it's clearly established, because first of all he's shown to be a hypocrite, so you think maybe he's a coward, but he's not. And then the other thing is, again, if this was an American movie, it would be different because he's his wife. His wife is different. His wife is not the other ones. You've had that distinction.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they do that, but no, he genuinely compassionate guy.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that interaction too as things are building up. It's like, so okay, so this is the stuff these are the oppositions that he's facing. He gets an ally in that one cop, and the opposition like socially for the kid who's facing down like just crappy ass shitty fucking students, and the one weird girl who likes him. Also, by the way, even though she's a weird girl, nobody treated her like shit.
No.
Also a very American thing that would have been done in the movie.
Oh, absolutely. They would have been like, no, she's the weird one that we don't talk to. No, she was part of the same group of friends as he was, and everyone was like, yeah, whatever.
In fact, to jump ahead, one of these fucking creepy little fucking shitty students is just like, oh, she's pretty, right? Like, she's pretty cool. She's weird, but I like her. Don't you like her too? And it's like, yeah,
Yeah, I'm watching out for that one. But the other kind of like, I guess it's more of the like main plot than a subplot. But while there's the subplot of the father looking for the mother with the cop, and the kid starting to undergo some of these changes while also dealing with like his social situations, he actually runs into two other animal people who he starts to like befriend and get close to. There's Fix, who's the bird person that we saw at the original like beginning of the movie, and a very cute child who is like a chameleon type creature. That we don't actually like hear much from, but like she's just kind of there vibing, which is cool. But like
she hangs around wherever Fix is.
Yeah. But the plot with Fix is very interesting because he is clearly very far along, both from a physical and somewhat mental perspective in terms of his bird transformation. And he's like actually really down on himself because he doesn't know how to fly, and he's been like trying to practice and whatnot, but it's just not working. And so Emil actually like goes out of his way to like clear for him like a takeoff strip essentially, so that he can practice and like safely crash into a lake if he's not able to get off the ground.
Yeah, because the first time he sees him, he just leaps off of a hill and like hard lands into the hard dirt.
Yeah, and it's rough. It's rough. And like they start off like the first time they run into each other, Fix actually like attacks him and like does a really nasty gash on his arm, which later on he goes to try and get treated and fucking takes out some of the stitches and licks it like a dog or something, which was like
that was
very
uncomfortable.
But like their kind of like dynamic or friendship actually grows significantly over the course of the movie, so that by the time Fix like can no longer actually communicate because he just doesn't have the vocal cords for forming words, they have a shared connection, and like the work that Emil has put in to try and help him pays off, and he actually is able to fly by the end, which like is a really nice, satisfying part of that subplot.
He also works as the character to kind of introduce him to the kind of life that he may have, that like regarding mental changes and shit like that. Even though Fix goes really far into his changes that we get to see, he also doesn't, just because he's not able to talk doesn't mean he like forgets. He has the overwhelming instinct to fly. He'll eat like raw fish. He'll eat animals. He will live like a wild beast kind of thing. But he's not actually a savage.
No. He still has some like innate understanding of like, how to interact with like another like animal person being, basically.
Yeah.
And like they have like significant conversations before he loses the ability to talk, but even after he's lost the ability to talk, like he still knows who Emil is.
Also, he's not okay. I know this will sound stupid if people are watching the movie in the first few minutes. You're like, how the fuck do you mean that? But he's not dangerous.
No,
he's not dangerous. He just wants to satisfy his urges and also be safe.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, he's also very content. Mm-hmm. At least he seems to have completely accepted what's happening to him. He doesn't bemoan it ever.
Yeah.
The one thing that he bemoans is the one thing that you'll be asking yourself about if you're watching the movie, which is the thing on his face.
Yeah, it's like, why is that there? Why isn't he taking it off yet? Well,
first of all, he can't.
He can't. Yeah, that's
by
true.
the time the first time you
his
see
hands
him,
are like fucking useless.
Yeah,
like, from the get go. He has so many like bird behaviors where like, for example, will have like a cloak that he'll drape over his shoulders, and to like take it off, he'll like use his mouth to pull it off because he can't use his hands.
He simply can't. So he has to. And then, oh man, when you finally get to see underneath the thing on his face,
it's pretty brutal.
It is. There's a lot of you know how like Deadpool is supposed to be ugly.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be like extremely unlovably ugly, and then when you see him in the movie, you're like, "Oh, come on, that's it."
Yeah.
That's the best cancer could do to your face. Certainly somebody didn't try hard enough. Now, the thing about Fix, which was like really fucking tragic, and again, talks about the state of the world, he was being forced into cosmetic surgery to undo the changes
that he was forming.
Yeah, the changes to his face. And because it wasn't finished, and because he's probably been fucking himself up, it's like these like fresh pink gashes in his face that are deep and obvious, and like a fourth of his nose is like still like an open slice.
It's rough. It's fucking rough.
It's really, really, really fucked up, to the point where like Emil, our main character, understands that he can't just have it like that, so he tapes him back up, so he ends up looking kind of similar to with the mask, but at least now it's a fresh bandage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the other. That is a cool dynamic now that I'm thinking about it. The fact that he gets the impulse to go more and more into the woods, and he makes friends with the bird guy, and bird guy wants to, just be left alone. But then they, and God, he goes out of his way so much for him too.
He does.
Which, holy fuck.
Yeah. Well, it's also funny because it also illustrates to some degree, like they make a big focus during this part of the movie to show like, first of all, the way that Emil's spine has changed, and it's very, like, standing out. The quote-unquote thick fur he has on his back, which Lamau. The fangs that he gets, the nails keep trying, or the claws keep trying to come out.
So they go with the losing teeth angle.
Yeah, it's a Hemlock Grove style.
Yeah. So, but man, I love how they fucking set the scene for certain changes to be fucking terrible. Because, okay, first of all, you see the claw, he pulls it out, bunch of blood. When he loses a tooth, it's in the fucking lunchroom.
Yeah. And he's like, it's a baby one, it's fine. And it's like
full crown molar, and one of them just is like, no, that's not a baby tooth, shut up.
Yeah.
And I'm not hungry anymore.
Yeah. But I think the one I was just going to mention in particular that I thought was really interesting, and this is more on like the mental side, he forgets how to ride a bike.
Oh, yeah.
And that was such an interesting one to pull out because, like, and they do it, like, progressively. It doesn't, like, come out of nowhere. Like, at the beginning, he starts to get you're like, oh, he's getting a little more clumsy because he's just, like, a little more less coordinated. Maybe he's going to, like, start having trouble walking on, like, 2 legs or something. But no, it's like he's losing the ability to do the motor skills required to ride a bike and also just like forgetting how it fucking works, to the point where at one point he's trying to like use the bike and he just completely like face plants, like just eats complete shit, and he just gives up. He's like, I can't do this anymore. And this ends up actually being one of the things that clues his dad in to him actually being changed. There's two things. He, first of all, the sink in the bathroom gets really clogged up because of the fur that he has been shedding. And he goes to like undo the like trap for the sink and finds like 3 little claws and like a tooth in it. So he's like, okay, what the fuck? And then he finds Emil's bike in the forest after he said, oh yeah, my bike got stolen. He fixes it up, and when the son comes home, he's like, hey, show me your hands. And he's like, I'm not doing that. He's like, all right, well look, I found your bike, here you go, I fixed it. And he's like, oh, thanks, Dad. And he's like, yeah, why don't you ride it? And he's like, no, I don't really feel like it. He's like, no, just ride it. And he's like, I don't want to. And he was like, ride it and then you can go into the house. And he realizes that there's no way he's gonna fucking like be able to fake being able to ride the bike anymore, so he just tries to fucking take off. And the dad fucking like tackles him to the ground, and that's when they have their big emotional moment, crying and stuff, and he's like, it's okay, I've got you, like, you know.
It's really fucking tender.
It is.
I like it a lot. The following morning they have a whole talk, and the dad's first instinct is, I'm going to make sure that nobody knows this is happening to you. And it's also really good. It's really funny when he's like, here have this other thing that I made for breakfast, and his son's nose is also really good. It's like, I don't like the way this smells, it smells bad. And then the dad is just like, fuck it, I drugged this. And then the son is like, so what's that gonna do? Is that gonna be so like you could like chain me to the bed or something? He's like, no, I was supposed to just make sure you go to sleep or something so you don't go into the woods. Look, man, I'm just trying to help you. That's like the whole tone of the conversation.
It's really funny. And he like, at one point the dad like walks away to like, he's like kind of quasi monologuing while looking away, and then he turns back and the kid's face is just like completely in his food because he's eating it with his like face, because he's like dog brain.
That's where he's talking about Norway. It's like, oh, Norway does it better. They talk about coexistence and not separation.
We'll get to that subplot. I want to finish going through the movie, but we'll get to that. It's just really funny that the dad is like trying to like basically set up this plan of like protecting his son, and he's like, okay, listen, you go to school, you know, you do what you have to do, you come back here, you don't fucking socialize with other people, it's 2 weeks until the break, then we can continue to figure this shit out, you just need to lay low so that nobody fucking clues in.
He's teaching him how to use Nair and everything.
Like he's like helping him get rid of the fur on his back and all this stuff. And of course, like, this is all well intentioned and stuff, and at first the son's like, yeah, I can try to do that. But like within like a day, it's all completely fallen apart because he's so fucking dog brained that he just can't.
He's dog brained, but also his actual physical traits, because now his hearing is ultra good.
Yes,
and all the little sounds in the classroom were fucking making him go nuts. And even though the dad had a really good fucking. Damn, man, the earplug thing was brilliant.
Yeah, he had these earplugs for him, and
and because the hearing is good, obviously it's not supposed to block out all sound, but now he can hear things at an adequate volume for himself. It was cool. But
shit falls apart. And I think one of the really interesting scenes is where the kid has been like AWOL, hanging around with like his like ADHD buddy, and shows up to this like festival that they've been talking about. It's like kind of like a Ren Fair type deal. And he shows up completely disheveled, clearly off his fucking gourd. He's got claws visibly extending from his nails, and he hasn't like tried to trim them or anything. And the dad is like, okay, what the fuck? So he brings him into this back room, and he's like, dude, what the fuck? I told you to like stick to the plan. Why are you being like this? And he's like, I don't want to, like showing like the impulsive side. And so the dad's like, brings out like these scissors, and he's like, I'm just gonna fucking clip them. And he's like, I don't want you to do that. And the son flips out on him because he raises his voice.
Hold on. It's not just because he raises his voice. It's because the dad is concerned and saying that he doesn't he's like, you're gonna be all alone, they'll take you away from me, and the son bites back saying, no, you're gonna be all alone. And that was a very like, oh fuck,
yeah,
that was mean.
That was below the belt. So then they start fighting, and the son fucking bites him, and
hard.
like is going fucking feral, like making snarling sounds and everything, and I don't know, that's like jazz music stops for a moment, because like everyone is like fucked up at that point. Like the dad's like, once they like he separates himself from the son, they kind of like realize the gravity of what's just fucking happened.
Remember how he had to do that was that he took a pocket knife.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And he put it to his son's neck, and the son started to whimper like an animal, and he didn't draw any blood, but he put it in his neck enough to be like, son, fucking stop. I can't. You gotta stop. And that was, and then
so fucked up.
Yeah, it was. And then they both get up and they're quiet, and the dad is about to clip his fucking claws,
and he just can't do it.
Yeah, and his dad is like, fuck this, and doesn't do it, and his son just walks out, and the dad just lets him go.
Yeah,
it's such a moment.
It's such a moment. And then immediately we tonal shift to our friend who has ADHD, who brings her wolf boyfriend or whatever he's turning into seductively into a field and is like, by the way, I knew you were a monster, fuck me. And that's basically how it goes, and it's really funny.
Yeah, they're just walking, they're talking, they're walking, they're talking.
Yeah, they start making out, and she's like, oh, I knew you were an animal person.
That was that was when he's getting when they're taking the clothes off, he's shirtless.
Okay, yes.
And then she's feeling his back, and his back is all hairy, and
got
by
the
then
spine and everything.
It's not. It's like there's more spine. His shoulder blades are weird, and she just says, "I knew it," and like breathily like smiles and shit, and then they fuck. And then they fuck. And then they go back to the Ren Fair
afterwards, which is so funny. I was like, wait, you guys just went... Oh, okay, I guess you did.
That's what I would do.
I know, and it makes sense. It's just really funny.
That's usually the thing. Okay, again, if this was an American movie, they'd be laying in the field, they'd be having some kind of stupid moment, something else would come up and cause everybody to be like, oh my god, what did you just do?
Then they're like, no, it was just casual. It's just a thing, you know?
And so it was... oh god,
it was really good.
But then after that, shit goes tits up because it can't stay good.
And everything hits the fan. One of the kids who was jealous of him uses one of the high-pitched whistle machines from earlier in the movie to like disrupt the kid's hearing, and like says all this terrible shit towards Emil, and he fucking scratches the shit out of the kid's face and takes a run for it. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we get the most American moment in the movie, in which everyone all of a sudden, all the angry townspeople who have been like anti-animal people, all of a sudden they have guns.
They go to the fucking cars
and they're just all pulling out guns, and I was like, wait, okay, this is the most American moment in the movie so far.
Big ass shotguns. Listen,
there's fucking Bloodborne era level people from the Ren Fair on stilts going through the field with guns, and we're like, what the fuck?
These 5 foot tall still people are walking through the field with their guns, and I'm just like, easily, that's like the enemy you gotta run on before they can shoot you for big damage. But yeah, and look, I gotta stress it, because it's just like, oh, you know, people in other countries have guns, but in fucking Lilyhammer, when people were concerned about wolves, they had hunting rifles, okay? Yeah. They were long, they were slim, they're not meant to, like, go out and, like, do the kill.
These were
people,
shotguns.
Yeah, these people had guns, and they had guns, lots of them, and the cops showed up, like, immediately with guns. And I'm like, wow, God bless France and their other Second Amendments.
Yeah, I guess. Fuck, man.
They're just fucking out there with their guns. I couldn't believe it. And you know, now there's a big chase, and the dad is like, holy fucking shit. And
the dad gets a gun.
The dad gets a gun because one of these stilt people who actually catches up to Emil is gonna take aim, and who comes from the fucking black night sky?
It's Fix with the steel chair.
Yeah, he fucking talons. He fucking
kills that guy.
Yeah, he tears his chest open, but not before. But of course, that is after he carries him off into the fucking
that's true. Into the distance.
Yeah, and that is when like the dad searching for his son in the field throughout this fucking hunting frenzy finds the body. Again, doesn't tell anybody about it, but it's like, that guy has a gun, and I'm taking it with me just in case.
Oh man. Anyways, I think like a lot of the film after that, like it's pretty much like set pieces in the sense of like the kid gets away for the most part. Fix dies, unfortunately. Rip Fix, you're a real one.
The hunting party gets him.
They do get him. But the kid gets away. He actually has a moment with his mother in the woods, who then leads him back to the animal camp, which is like this collection of a lot of the different creatures we've been seeing or have been alluded to throughout the film. There's some really great prosthetic works and also like some interesting choices. Like there's a snake person. There's a fucking like stick bug person.
Oh man, and you see this, and you see like the stick bug person looks like an SCP cryptid. Yeah. It's at night. Like one of the stilt people ends up walking back home drunk on their stilts, and in the background, very quietly, no musical sting. God, I love that this is not an American movie. And it's just where all of us are like, what is that?
And just skitters by, basically.
Yeah, it skitters by out of fucking sight, and then like all the trucks come from over the hill from the military, and nobody saw shit. But the guy is like, oh my god, the fucking army's here, you know.
But yeah, they go to this animal kind of like settlement, and of course it doesn't last because the military has found it and like takes a lot of them in, and
they lay siege to it.
They lay siege. The mom gets away though because she fucking, I think she's like a bear creature. That's what we were speculating.
I strongly think she's a bear creature. Her form is so fucking cool. Her face is very, very humanoid.
Yes.
Even though the rest of her is clearly not.
Oh, it's very bestial.
Huge.
She's massive.
And it's actually very pretty too.
Yeah.
And yeah, you notice the one bear creature, because that's the other thing. There aren't really like a bunch of duplicates. There aren't a lot of people that are turning into just like a bunch of this one thing.
Yeah.
There's like the panda, random. The snake, the lizard, the chameleon lizard girl, which they affectionately call Frog for a little while.
Which made you happy?
Yeah, I was like, oh. But yeah, there's just all kinds of them, which also even further emphasizes that whatever happens to people just happens to them.
And it's all like different progressions. Like one guy has like a demi snout, and other people have like there's the snake with the scales, and like it's all very varied, which is great. And of course, it can't last because this is a movie. But I think one of the interesting things after that is they take in a lot of the animal people, and then because the son still looks mostly humanoid, they're like, you know what, listen, we're just gonna say that you were off your gourd on some drugs or whatever, and it'll be fine. The police woman is like, it's implied she's trying to like smooth things over, and they're like, listen, you just have to sign this paper, kid, and then you can go whatever. And he cannot sign his name because he does not remember how to use pens anymore.
Yep,
he's just so far gone on that front. Like when you see him, you're like, oh wait, maybe he went nonverbal now too, because like he does not say anything. He like snarls with like these big sharp teeth at the guy and fucking rips like one of the pieces of paper, and like it gets to the point where obviously it's clear that he's an animal person. And the dad sees what's about to happen. He's like, "Oh no!" And he fucking decks the cop out. And he's like, "All right, we're going. We'll stamp this and just show them, and we'll keep walking, and no one will say shit."
Yeah, it's like, Dad, you continue to be everything you said you stand for.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. And then there's this like kind of, I guess, last segment in the film where like he's driving away with the kid, and the cops are kind of like in pursuit, and the kid's just kind of telling him about this one memory of his that he like kind of holds on to of him with his dad and his mom and such, to kind of show that like, yeah, he still like remembers like a lot of the stuff, even if like a lot of other things are gone. And like at this point there's been a lot of lead up where he's even been shown like running on all fours and stuff, and the dad's like, you know, foxes and wolves can run at like 50 to 60 kilometers an hour.
No, he tells him that. He asks his son, like, how fast can like they run? And the son tells him, he's like, okay, good. And he turns into the fucking woods.
Yeah, and he's like, all right, kid, go. I'll hold them off. I'll take my due for punching a fucking cop out. You just get the fuck away from here. And he runs off and they leave it open. And it's a very like emotional kind of ending.
Yeah. You end at the cut where he's running free.
Yeah. One of the things that was really interesting to me about the movie in general is like there, and I want to go back to this. It's very clear that the movie itself is telling some sort of a story. Like, this is all, like, yes, it's all TF, we love it, blah, blah, blah. But it's clear that it's also supposed to be a metaphor for something else. And, just speculating based on how things are kind of handled in the movie, if I were to kind of, like, make an argument, I think it's pretty clear that it's an allegory or metaphor for COVID and how COVID affected our societies as a whole. There's a very strong undercurrent about treating these mutations like a disease, even though they never say whether or not it's actually something that's communicable or not.
Yeah, nobody knows how it's caught.
No one knows what causes it. No one knows, like, shit on that front. But it spreads around. It causes this big fucking panic. And, the military get called in. There's a long discussion about how this instance or this disease that's popping up all over the world is being handled better in other countries. So to your point earlier about how, like, oh yeah, in Norway they've learned to just, like, coexist and stuff, and that's the better system. And it gets super politicized in this little fucking town in France. Like, you have these people making those shirts, and then you also have some of the kids at the school who are making, like, coexist together stickers, basically.
Free creatures.
Yeah, free creatures, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And like the way in which it, like, very clearly gets, like, these lines drawn, and how, like, some people are, like, going out of their way to try and evade all these, like, measures that are being set up and everything. And, like, I think a big recurring, like, theme as well is just, like, coming to acceptance about what is happening to the world because of this. Like, in my opinion, the story with the mother is almost like a very long, extended discussion around what happens when you lose a loved one. Because, like, at the end of the day, yeah, the kid does get to see her, but she doesn't say anything, and the movie mostly focuses on the fact that, like, the dad's trying to find her, but he doesn't in the end, and, like, he has to live with that, and he also has to let his son go. And, like,
the line that he gives that also sticks with me is that he said that he doesn't know whether he's more afraid that he won't find her or that he will.
Yeah. And it's because he's like, I don't know what do I do when I get to that? What happens, to use a bad joke, what happens when the dog catches a car? He doesn't know. And I think that, like, the way in which the film just kind of approached the characters and how they reacted to the mutations and such, like, it very strongly felt to me like it was reflecting on COVID. And given the timing of when the movie came out, I mean, like, it only came out last year, so that's only 3 years on. I think a lot of us are still, like, living with and processing everything that has happened in that period of time. And it really did feel to me like there was both an indictment of how people have reacted in some ways to it, and also, like, a plea for hope in that there are people from all different walks of life who want to help out and want to work towards, like, a peaceful coexistence or what have you, or, like, working to try and help people who may have gone astray. And I think all of that just ties back into, my kind of opinion around it being a film around the acceptance of what's happened and how to kind of move forward past that afterwards too.
Yeah, because now it's endemic. They're not going to stop it.
No, it's not.
So you got to learn to live with it. Although this technically is not that kind of thing. Fuck everyone.
Yeah.
I guess what you could say is that COVID is not a very attractive disease for very attractive means and ends, is it?
No, it's not.
It's not something that you could just spread around and be like, yeah, it's okay. They're all going to like it anyway.
And the thing that struck me, too, was, like, when we talk about some of the mental changes, like, some of it, to me, almost felt reminiscent of, like, it, like, some of the behaviors that were happening, like, we can clearly ascribe them to being, like, I keep saying the term dog brain. Like, it also feels like it's maybe an analogy to, like, the brain fog you get in COVID, and how, like, certain people, like, have trouble with, like, specific tasks afterwards because they no longer, like, have the ability to do so easily, or it doesn't come to them easily. Sometimes they don't have a lot of energy. Like,
yeah, you could get a lot of that from the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that's not, like, the sexy kind of thing we're here to talk about, but, like, I really did feel like that was part of the metaphor that the movie was trying to
look.
tell.
I get very tired of being expected to do the horny thing, and at the same time people be like, it's not just a fetish, and the people who will be like, it's not a fetish, and this is a lot of things.
Yeah, it is.
I just have to say that if you're not open to the fact that we're going to be talking about a story and the themes that aren't necessarily like the most attractive one with like the whole wistful, oh, I wish that was me, then, open the fuck up.
Oh, no, of course. But I guess what I mean to say is, like, when I went into this movie, I didn't think I'd end up spending time, like, when I'm reflecting on it, talking about COVID. Like, that wasn't something that entered my mind, but once I'd watched it... Yeah, no, once I'd watched it, I was like, this feels very clear, like, in terms of its directionality and its intentionality and what it wants to do. And obviously, the people who made this movie knew about TF because, like, the ways in which they handled it is very, like, okay,
what was
we
the
know.
name of the artist again? One of the artists that they went to? It was, like, okay.
Oh, yeah. So, there's an artist related to... well, she's made a lot of different... I guess sculptures and such over the years. She's an Italian artist, and I'm gonna have to look up her name here, but basically you're probably familiar with it. There's a series of like statues of like almost demi-humans who look like animals.
Yeah.
So there's one that's like about like this dog woman who has like little like a litter of pups, and she looks very human except for in the face, where she has basically a dog face.
Yeah.
And apparently she was one of the inspirations for the way in which they designed the creatures. So her name, I have it here now. It was Patricia Piccinini. And the director himself actually worked with a comic book artist named Frederick Peters to design the looks for the creatures in the film. And they decided, like, really early on that they didn't want to use, like, some, like, overused viralist sort of like figure of like, oh, these are heroes from like a video game or a fantasy where like you get these like super hot buff like combination animal people. They're like, no, we want this to look at least somewhat realistic from a morphology perspective, and also slightly off-putting because that's the combination of animal and human. Like, it's never going to look 100% natural.
Yeah, the changes are really uneven. The octopus person that we see in the supermarket is like half of the face is changed and shit like that, and it's really uneven.
Yeah.
It's just the kind of thing that they have to put up with in this world.
Yeah. And I think one of the other interesting ways in which this movie was clearly made is that it was actually based off of a script written by someone else. So it was someone who was a student at a film school, and this director, who's well known, like actually picked it from the students' scripts and was like, I actually really like this idea of humans mutating into animals. I want to like turn this into a movie.
Yeah.
So like I think it's really interesting that clearly there was a source probably from maybe someone who knew more. I don't want to like overly speculate, but like that combined with someone who had like the pull in the industry and wanted to make a film like this and clearly had some intentionality that he also wanted to tell a story through, were able to bring to life this movie that had so many incredible practical effects, so many incredible CGI shots. Like, there are parts where you don't know if it's practical or CGI, like, genuinely. And, like, the mixing of both of them, like, they used both of them, and I think they used them incredibly well in so many different ways. I was, like, just kind of mind-blown. And the fact that, like, this was also a movie that was taken super seriously in French cinema, like, this movie was the most nominated movie at the César Awards in France, which is the equivalent for them of the Oscars. Like, it got 12 nominations. It got nominated in performance categories. It got nominated and won for, like, its effects and its, like, both visual and, like, costuming effects and production design and sound and all this stuff. Like, this movie was taken really seriously because it was telling a very serious story, and also it was super hot with TF stuff. But like, people didn't go into it being like, oh yeah, I'm here to be like super horny about this, like, guy who's turning into a bird. It was like, this is the story first, and you get all the fun things too, but it's a story first.
This is not the director's, like, badly disguised fetish thing.
Yeah.
I know that people look at media these days and they're just like, oh yeah, that's exactly what it is, but really this was just such a heartfelt film.
It really was.
And like, the laughs were good. There were laughs.
There were so many good laughs.
Again, kind of like Spring. This is a movie that you would have to watch.
It's also a movie that defies genre definitions.
Yeah, it does.
On IMDb, thank you.
I am the database.
You are the database. It didn't know what to categorize that as, so it's categorized into 5 different genres. It's an adventure film, a drama film, a horror film, a mystery film, and a sci-fi film.
I'd argue it's a comedy film.
It's also a comedy film, so it's like, okay, cool, we've just got every genre in one because we didn't know how to define this movie.
Yeah, did you know movies can just be a story?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so yes, the short version is we do strongly recommend Animal Kingdom. If this is a movie that gets really fucking popular, then like rightfully so.
Yeah.
And look, I'm gonna tell you right now, move the fuck on from American Werewolf. There are other stories. This movie had fucking awesome effects.
But Ern, this movie doesn't have a really detailed paw shot, so I can't jerk off to it.
I'm going to choke any. I can choke any of you with enough will and intent. Just it's fine.
Which, by the way, for all my feet fans out there, I'm sorry, the talons on the bird are like 11 out of 10. You gotta watch this film.
Damn, man, yeah,
they're so good. They're so good.
There's been so much to appreciate.
The bird fans are fed in this movie. Okay.
Oh man, look, Fix's progression in the movie is
incredible.
Awesome.
It's so fucking good.
Like the spread of the feathers, the progression. It was really cool to see him again and be like, oh, your other arm finally grew into a wing,
and now you have the like start of feathering on your chest.
Yeah, like, and then after that, there's more and a little more and a little more, and like, wow, all right, and also. Because I hate you people. No, you don't get to know what happens after.
Oh, yeah. So, I forgot to mention that. First of all, apparently there was an epilogue that was cut from the movie. It was like 2 minutes roughly. And the director apparently said that he felt it was better to leave some open-ended questions and not like answer everything that happens at the end. And I am glad that he did that. Obviously, I'm curious to like, whenever it comes out, maybe they will release the epilogue at some point. I would be curious to see it, but like the movie functions so much better without explaining everything that happens at the end and what happens after, in the sense of like, the Emil gets away and we don't know what happens after that. We don't know what happens to the dad, if he gets like thrown in prison, if the policewoman like saves his ass, if Emil ends up finding the other animal people and his mom who got away. We don't know. And
but we also don't know exactly how people transform, because they said that people in Norway coexist. What are they coexisting with? Yeah. Are they just coming to terms with the fact that they're essentially losing loved ones? Or are they really just something else entirely? Mm-hmm. Because coexistence kind of implies that there's no avoiding them, and there's going to be something like unique about them that's going to have them overlapping in human life. Yeah. Ideally, if they were to just turn into animals, you don't ever have to see them again. But that's not what they imply either.
No, it's not what they imply.
So the question is, what happens? Again, it's not even clearly said that he meets his mom in the forest, because we don't get told what she's turning into. Mm-hmm. And then we see like this face, this really like beautiful, like almost sphinx-like face. Yeah. And it's huge. And then it's kind of like, is that his mom?
He says later that he thinks it was. Yeah. But there's never actual confirmation.
Yeah. And that's all you get.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, maybe she also finished changing. We don't know that either. Know.
And I think it's better that it was left open-ended, because I think it ties more towards the themes. Again, going back to my theory about it being related to a COVID metaphor, like the part of that whole like coming to terms with it and like letting his like the father letting his loved ones go, so to speak, like you're never gonna like exactly know what happens. Like that's part of the point too, like it would be ruined if you were just like, okay, and so this person ended up with that person, and this person got this many years in prison, and he shacked up with the police lady after. Like, that's not the point of the movie. The point of the movie was the emotional connection between the father and the son, and that has in a way been resolved, because the father has accepted that perhaps his son has changed in ways that he'll never be able to fully reconcile with, but he also has to accept that they've happened and that he has to let his son go.
Yeah.
And you don't need anything after that.
In a way, it's not unlike just having your children grow up anyway.
Yeah.
Because because when the dad finally pulls up to the edge of the forest beyond this little shitty barrier, it's hilarious.
It's the most pathetic barrier ever. It's so French.
I love the foreshadowing in this movie.
I do.
It is incredible. Yeah. And the callbacks, all written so very fucking well. But, you know, between like him fighting with his dad and everything like that, and the memory that the kid was going over, you know, in the snowy mountains and everything, the dad has like one response to his son about that. He just tells him he's beautiful, and I was like, that's really sweet. And then also when he opens the door and he's like, run, go, he struggles to not want to leave, and he holds his dad's arm like really firmly, and he's really unsure, and he hesitates, and the dad's like, go, come on. And then he finally goes, but not before like a look of like, thanks dad, or I love you, or something like that.
Yeah.
Like the knowing look of appreciation that he did the thing for him.
Yeah.
And that he understands it's actually a sacrifice out of love.
Yeah.
And that shit, I love that.
It's so good.
Yeah.
The acting in the movie is just so incredible, both from the lead, the son, and from the father. Like the son did such a good job acting through like the mental changes and like reacting to the physical stuff and being like so unsure of himself.
He was really convincingly weird.
He was so convincingly weird. It was incredible. And like the dad's like emotional arc throughout the movie was just so well done too, and like that was very much a testament to the actor himself, who from what I can see has been nominated for like the like best actor award at the Césars like 4 different times. So like that did not surprise me, including for this film. Yeah, as did the son. The son was also nominated as like best like debut performer, because apparently this is like one of his first big roles, and he came out with fucking that. Yeah. So like, you know, hats off to the kid. I genuinely was just so impressed with like the acting and the script. In my opinion, at least, again, like I'm going off of an English translation. I'm sure it's even better in French.
But
yeah, but like the script was so well done throughout the entire thing. Again, yeah. I'm sure it's even better in French, but like even just the translation into English, like it was witty. It was like, you know, it had the jokes came at the right moments and the tenderness came at the right moments, and they really had a good sense, in my opinion, of the pacing too. Like I didn't feel like the movie was rushed in any ways.
It wasn't rushed, and it didn't drag.
It didn't drag, like, yeah. It's 2 hours long. Yeah. It's 2 hours long, and I didn't feel like it dragged, nor did it, like, rush anything. It was the perfect amount of time
when it was over, I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. It was just really well executed, and, like, the visuals were great. Apparently it was filmed in this region of France that was, like, the childhood area of the director, and that like that love showed.
Yeah. I just want to say and stress, this movie is a love letter to people like me, because it appreciates all the liminal stages, the blending of human and animal, and also just the really cool ideas you can get out of them, and doing more than wolves.
Oh yeah,
you know, and doing just there's so many cool different things that are explored and touched on that you catch these really lovely glimpses of. There's so much to appreciate. That is the kind of shit I want to see. There's very popular stuff in this niche, and you get to see a fucking billion of it, okay? And that's fine, but I've always wanted to see more things. And then people and the ironic common answer of the most underused transformation
being
is the
pangolin.
It's always the pangolin.
It's the one that always comes up,
and
which
you can
is so funny to me.
Find a pretty good amount of pangolin stuff, but this movie does things.
It really does.
Not to mention, it actually has a fucking story. Look, guys, I hate to break it to you, but if you are writing a transformation story to be horny, just do it. Do not set up a character that's just the fucking thing to like shovel an emotion on. Just be horny, okay?
And I to be clear, I think there's a lot of really great TF fiction that is being worked on right now from people in the community who are not doing it just from like a horny perspective, but like are actually trying to like tell stories. Like I know Eric Malvis, who's one of our patrons, is doing the Broken Wing series, and I think that's been a really great example of that.
I enjoyed Mice T for a little bit.
Yeah, Mice T's, I mean, Mice T, Game of the Year, come at me, you know, like, God, Mice T is so good.
Bloodborne is Game of the Year
it's Game of the Year every year, but, like, I'm saying beyond Bloodborne, you know? But, yeah, no, there's, like, so many interesting, like, stories and such that are being like written right now that I think touch on these things. But I guess like one of the things again, and to call back to what you were just saying, so many of the like TF stories we get a lot of the time are focused on like things like wolves. And again, to be clear, I love that. But like, I cannot think of another movie where we got this interesting of a bird TF. Like I can't. I literally cannot think of one that compares to this one on that front. And it's like it was so refreshing. It was so refreshing to see, and like it was done so well. They put in so much thought into like what he would actually look like. They show the changes from a physical and a mental perspective. Like again, bird TF fans getting fed in this movie. I'm just saying,
yeah,
you know,
time.
like,
and then you get your slow burns. It's slow burns everywhere,
yeah.
Which is funny because Fixes was probably the fastest we got to see. Everybody else seemed
that's true.
Like,
actually,
are you gonna stay that way? How long are you gonna stay that way? Again, the changes are all random, in random order. You know, you got Anteater Kid just sitting in the clinic
with a fucking snout and tongue. You know,
yeah, you know. And apparently not feral enough to be all like crawling on the floor.
Yeah.
So yes, fucking delightful, wonderful piece of work. Yeah, it's the kind of thing I want a copy of in the house.
Yeah. There's a quote from the director of Parasite that I always remember from when they accepted the award at the Oscars for Best Picture, and he said that, you know, once you get over the 6-inch barrier of subtitles, there's so many incredible movies out there, and I really just want to encourage people to continue to like watch movies that are not in English, because I think there are so many incredible stories out there to be told. And this goes in general, but I also mean like from a TF perspective, like there are really interesting TF movies out there that are not in English. And, you know, one of the unfortunate restrictions of like so much of our like space is the fact that it's so English centric. Like when we had, for example, Lobaleo on, or like we've chatted with some other guests who are not from like natively like English speakers. Like
we've had France, we've had Germany, we've had Australia, we have fucking England, we've
Argentina.
Argentina. We have
Chile.
We have them everywhere.
Yeah.
So
there's so. What I mean to say is like there's so much like culture from a TF perspective in non-English speaking like areas, and I wish that more people were like digging into those, because there's a lot to be found. It just needs to be mined. Honestly, it's there. Like it is there. I know it is there.
And not to mention the important thing. The important thing about culture is also how the art is approached, because filmmaking is an art, right?
Yeah.
And American movies typically are made in a very particular way, which is why anything that we would have expected that would have cheapened this experience and would have just made it a fun romp instead of an excellent movie is that, it's not made in America. Yeah. Look, like even Dog Soldiers. Dog Soldiers is a movie in English. It is not an American film.
It's absolutely not an American film.
Fucking tell. First of all, that movie is fun and kind of schlocky, but oh my god, there's nothing like it as far as I'm
when
concerned.
It goes hard, it fucking goes hard.
Yeah, exactly. And would you have gotten that if you stuck to just like the usual North American corners? No,
absolutely not.
And also I keep finding content, I keep showing you shit from people who are like in Japan or like anything else. I'm
Viking
like,
Wolves from Norway.
Fucking Korea too.
Yeah,
just all over the place. There are people everywhere into this, and if you're not looking, you're doing yourself a disservice. Like, I still do not understand. Look. It is impossible to find and know about everything. But why the fuck do I feel like nobody's looking?
Well, I think also, like, and this is a indictment, I think, more on social media in general. Like, I think when it comes to things like Twitter and other social media platforms, because of how the algorithm works, a lot of time things are just kind of served up to ourselves. And so people, I think... And this is like a criticism that can be applied to me as well. Like they've gotten just less good at looking for things because things are already being presented to them. So they're like, well, clearly this is just all it like is. I don't need to look more. And it's like, man, no, there's a lot of stuff out there that you're not seeing.
I am not. I am not content. I keep looking. And this is why I end up This is why I keep up finding and learning things that even you like that you didn't know about. I'm like, this isn't for me at all, but check this out, and you're like, wow, I have never seen it before, never heard of it before. Wow, I don't know where the fuck this came from. And nobody else was going to show it to you. I mean,
I also have ADHD, so I do a million things, and I don't have enough time to look for things. But that's another problem. That's a separate problem.
If I look, I just end up looking at websites where I'm just like, where is that thing from?
Yeah.
And sometimes I find it, and it leads me down a rabbit hole. I'm like, did you know about this? Like, oh God, what was I forgot the name of the movie already, but it was, it's this fucking anime trailer that my description will do it a disservice, but I think it's like, My Dear Friend.
The deer one. Oh my God, I was losing my shit.
Yeah, where like the big screenshot that you've probably seen, if you've seen it at all, is like, are you ready to become a deer?
Please go watch the trailer for that. I won't watch
friend.
the anime, but just the trailer was enough for me to be like, that's incredible. 10 out of 10.
I want to see that shit.
No, I'm saying I won't have time to watch it. You go ahead and watch it.
And I'm going to tell you, I expect nobody to turn into a deer.
No.
I expect to have a good time. That's what I expect. But you will have deer schoolgirls, and they're going to be kicking each other's asses. The humor looks amazing in that movie. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So, all right. Any final thoughts, or do you feel like you gave them?
I mean, I think I gave them all. I think just, I've made my points around like what I think the metaphor was. We've talked a lot about the production design. Actually, I will say that there are a lot of really interesting set photos and videos out there from the production of this movie.
Oh, yes.
I don't know how many we'll get to show in like the video for this, but like I would definitely encourage, once you've seen the movie, to check out some of the practical effects stuff. Again, I mean, there's videos on the production that are unfortunately in French, so I don't know what they're saying, but there's a lot of really interesting visuals.
You got some French friends. You can help us out if there's anything significant.
Yes. Shout out to our Quebec patrons. Please help us translate. But like seriously, like I really enjoyed this movie. It well surpassed the hype I had. I think that's like one of my closing points. I saw this movie being shared everywhere. Everyone was talking about it, and like I don't like going into a movie knowing too much, so I didn't really look into it too much, but I saw so many different screenshots. I was like, yeah, I'm sure this is going to be a really interesting TF movie, but I didn't have any expectations outside of that, because it wasn't being shown to me as like, oh my God, this is like this groundbreaking film that you need to watch. And that was the perspective I came away with. Like, it really felt groundbreaking in some ways, and like not just as a TF film, but also as a movie. And I am so thankful that I got to go in and experience it. And I would just hope that people continue to go into movies looking not just for like TF stuff, but also for good movies in general. Because
keeping an open mind and
shit. Yes,
absorbing media and being media literate, and not sticking to just more of the same stuff.
Exactly.
Don't accept slop.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I guess what I'm trying to say, like, there are definitely interesting movies out there that have like decent enough TF things, but aren't very good as actual pieces of media. And to be clear, of course, I'm always going to enjoy seeing the TF, but like, I feel like if we are going to continue to be a community that cares about this topic, we should also be lifting up the content that handles it in a really well thought out manner.
Yes.
And that includes promoting movies like these and not emphasizing as much some of the ones that aren't as good. Like, I mean, we've talked a little bit about the Sorry to Bother You shit. Like, that's just an incredible movie unto itself too, that also incidentally has some other things. And it gets shared around because of the TF stuff, fine, whatever. But like, it was also a really good movie. That's not the point.
That literally wasn't the point.
It was not the point. And so, when it comes to this movie, I just hope that when it is like shared around by other people, that folks also remember to say like, this is a really incredible movie. It also has hot TF in it. Like, I would rather you lead with, this is an incredible movie.
Yes.
And I know that that's not necessarily what people think about when they're leading into sharing something, but like, again, genuinely, this is an incredible movie, and that was the most important thing to me.
Absolutely. I could have come away with the idea that you wanted to see more of like this, or oh my God, they disappointed me by not showing me that, or not telling me this, because that's another thing that really bothers me. I fucking hate when people just assume that there needs to be more of something when what you got is the point. That doesn't mean, of course, that everything can't be. It doesn't mean that something can't be incomplete.
Of course.
But man, that's the point. Sometimes, actually pay attention to it. Like, this isn't just like lie down and be grateful. Pay attention to what people are making and showing to you.
Yeah.
And I think this movie is also a very good exercise in accepting the story and the thing that people offer you and absorbing that, instead of looking at it and thinking, well, this is what I would do to make it good or horny or have more of the theme that I would like. Like, please. You say you're a fan of transformation. You have to look at it from a bunch of different angles, because don't be socially incestuous.
Yes, it always comes back to that, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. 'Cause, if I had this movie described to me by some people, I'm sure some of them would be like, it was fine. I would have liked if I would have got to see more of this, which is the angle that some would come at, and that would frustrate the fuck out of me. I'm like, so you literally don't really care about anything else. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, but if it's a TF movie, it should know. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Pay attention to the goddamn story. You are literate enough to fucking read because you're on Netflix, okay? So fucking watch the movie, read the subtitles, accept the story. Accept the story that somebody made that didn't have just you in mind for your satisfaction or your self-actualization in mind. These are supposed to be like thought exercises, the thought experiments, and like creative exercises and everything like that. You're experiencing that, and that enriches you, and you can build up your own fantasy and appreciation for this. Fucking watch a good movie. This is a really fucking great movie. Yeah. So that being said, I'm glad that there was enough talk about it, enough buzz to get us to watch it. Again, appreciate to the people who helped us facilitate being able to watch it.
I want to say shout out to Jiggliest Puff from our patron server, who is able to hook me up with a very wonderful copy of the movie, because it is not available for streaming in Canada, because Canada is not a real country. So thank you, Jiggliest Puff. You were the fucking realist in this entire endeavor, and I deeply, deeply appreciate you for helping facilitate this as well. It was well fucking worth it.
Technically, we made this episode for you. Technically,
yeah. So this episode is dedicated to Jiggliest Puff, and also everyone else in our server who is like hoping we would watch it as well, because there were a number of comments on that, and we were really happy to do that. Like, I'm so glad I watched this movie. Like, please, if you did listen to this despite not watching the movie, I know we've spoiled almost everything, but like, please go and watch the movie anyways, because it was that fucking good.
There's a lot of shit we just
there's stuff we didn't talk about. Yeah,
that's actually really fucking good. And again, it's 2 fucking hours, but it's 2 rich, well executed hours. This is the kind of stuff that reminds you that film is an art.
Yeah, it really is. So
that's it. And I hope that in the future, anybody else, has stuff that maybe we want to watch. And look, I'm gonna tell you right now, just because you like it, I'm gonna be fucking honest. If I don't like it, you're gonna know it.
I don't think anyone would ever criticize you, Libra, for not being honest. I think everyone knows you're honest.
They'll just criticize me for being an asshole.
Yes.
Yeah. That's okay. I can't make anything happen. That whatever. Anyway, fuck it. Great movie. I'm the worst person in the world. Anyway,
I'm giving you side eye right now. Let the audience know I'm giving you side eye right now.
Man, you grew an extra eye on the side of your head.
Yeah, I did, exactly.
You can't see it, but it actually really happened.
I'm about to go 3-eyed bobcat on your ass.
Now, we don't have any audience questions, because technically we have done an entire episode based on something somebody helped facilitate us fucking watching.
The audience questions was, can you watch this movie and review it? And we said yes. So that was the audience question. But I don't know, Libra, do you have any questions for me?
What the fuck?
I don't know. I'm wondering, do you have any questions for me, Libra?
That was the question.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's a question.
I don't know.
Okay, I accept. This was fun, though.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Let us know, guys. You can comment, whatever. Be patron, fucking Spotify,
give us money.
Advertise, give us money,
share around,
like fucking
share with your mom, share with your dad, share with your non-binary parental unit.
Do you know the YouTuber Hugbees?
No.
He did this series of videos that he got. I'm pretty sure it's what made him popular. Is like how it's actually made was a series.
Oh, that's funny.
So he would take the how it's made footage and just dub over ridiculous things.
Oh my god.
And they were really, really funny. He started to make other content talking about this, talking about that, doing games or whatever. And then the most recent one, he mentioned like, oh, you know, people with dignity don't have to peddle their. He was like, this is the part of the video where I usually tell you to like and subscribe and stuff like that. Although in a world where your content is good, you shouldn't have to do that sort of thing. You just fucking get more of it if you actually want it. If your stuff is good, you shouldn't have to do that. But this is the world we live in.
That's the world we live in.
Yeah. All right. So thanks again. And thank you. Great movie. We'll do this again sometime soon.
Yeah.
It's late. Fucking remember that a good story is what you're looking for. It's a good story that you're looking for. If you want to make your own shit to gratify yourself, by all means, do not look at what other people are making and just say, oh, I would have done it better, or that's not what I like, and then just kind of trash it on that basis alone. You know, that's it.
Good stories will guide you out of the darkness.
Yep. Keep that open mind, people.
Yeah.
Bye.
Stay TFE.